Hi, everyone. I'm Gino Buccola alongside David Aragona, and we're going to head on out to Aqueduct for a preview of the Gravesend $150,000 stakes race on Saturday, December the 28th. 6 furlongs the distance. Let's take a look and meet the field for this one, David. You've installed a couple of horses would probably vie for favoritism in here with Run Son of a Gun and Maximum Meridius as 9-5 and 2-1. No shock here. They're both in just the best form in this field right now. And you have a couple horses in here who haven't been in the best of form as of late that you can kind of eliminate. So Running Son of a Gun and Maximum Meridius feel like that top tier.
Yeah, and we'll see if this is the race where the bettors finally give Runnin' Son of a Gun some respect, because he's a horse who's been pretty generous prices in all of his recent starts and has just been gradually getting better and better, sort of recapturing that strong form that he had found at the end of 2022. He's kind of now had this renaissance at the end of his 5-year-old season, coming off 2 really good efforts in similar spots, and I kind of do view him as the horse to beat.
And with my handicapping, and I think with many folks, we always start with the pace. Pace makes the race. What is it going to look like? Let's see what Timeform US thinks with the pace projector there. So they have Tivy from the inside, kind of holding that position and getting the front over Toxic Gray. When they faced each other last time out, Toxic Gray was actually in front of Tivy and was able to put that one away. So do you see the two of them kind of forwardly placed and maybe the one having to get more aggressive from the rail draw?
I would think that Toxic Gray and Jose Lescano, his jockey, are going to be intent on securing the front end, and we'll see how much of a fight Romero Mirage and Tivy put up from the inside, because Toxic Gray has run his 2 best races in a row when he's made the lead out of the starting gate, and maybe Tivy will have something to say about that. He can be a pretty fast horse on his day, but not really classing up with this field, as you noted in your open. So I'll be interested to see what happens with those 2 towards the lead, but I'm not expecting this to be some blazing pace.
Well, let's meet the field inside to out, and we'll start with Tivy, who is 20-1 on the morning line. He comes off that runner-up effort behind Toxic Gray in a first-level allowance race on November the 16th. He was second, just behind. He was getting a pretty good trip, and he kind of loomed up to challenge at the top of the lane, but he was just no match for Toxic Gray, who had another gear there and was able to kick on. So those two come out of that very same race. Did you have any reason to maybe give Tivy a chance to turn the tables on the rival that beat him?
Not really. I mean, we've seen this horse's act for a number of years now. He's got some ability, but he just isn't the most horse with the most fortitude. I mean, he just tends to throw in the towel pretty easily in the stretch. He is a horse you might want to take a look at for underneath and trifectas, because he loves to finish third. But at this level, he just feels like one that's a little bit overmatched.
Full Moon Madness is going for his 3rd consecutive win. He's an interesting horse because he's always flashed the ability. He was second. I was third in the grade 3, second in the grade 3 Nashua back in 2022. And now he's put back-to-back wins together. You can probably eliminate 2 of his poor performances, one of them before a long layoff, one of them coming back off the long layoff and in on a sloppy racetrack. He actually, you don't see this happen all too often, where you have a horse who has a win streak separated by a long layoff. And that's actually the case with him. Didn't run from January all the way to November, but he won that race. And he certainly likes Aqueduct, David, where he's won all 3 of his races right here.
It's kind of interesting. When he came off a similar layoff in October of 2023, he needed to start off the layoff.
Yep.
He ran poorly and then took a big step forward and refound his better form and then proceeded on from there. But coming off the layoff this year, last month in November, he came back seemingly nearly at his best with that 88 Beyer, just a 3-point regression from his prior victory, which was all the way back at the beginning of the year on New Year's Day. So clearly a horse that is liable to take another step forward second off the layoff in here. I think he's going to need to do so, because he was working hard to beat a couple of rivals last time who probably don't quite class up with this field, but maybe there is some upside here.
Yeah, he probably will be a fair price for some of those concerns that we had if he is in that 8 to 10-1-ish range. Running Son of a Gun, one of the horses to beat in here. He had a stretch of 5 races where he really kind of tailed off form. He couldn't hit the board. But then again, he's refound that good form in his last 3 races, really. He likes it at Aqueduct. He was put up in a win in the Bold Ruler via DQ. I know you don't want to talk about this one again. That was a tough put up, but he is a graded stakes winner, and he did outfinish Top Gunner and 24 Mamba recently. So Running Son of a Gun just feels like one of the horses to beat in here.
Yeah, he kind of tipped his hand that something better was coming in that race three back, the allowance affair, where he kind of had to get held up on the backstretch, maybe wanted to be more closer to the pace than he was, and finished well for third, then took that step forward to get the victory via DQ in the bold ruler right here, this last race. But I liked best about this narrow defeat to Giant Mischief was that Running Son of a Gun was way more engaged in the early stages. He broke sharply from the gate, and Joel Rosario just went with it, let this horse contest the pace, and he responded well to that change in tactics. He is a horse that used to have more early speed before he kind of lost it when he went off form. And so nice to see him kind of put all the pieces back together, running faster numbers, racing more tactically in the early stages. Just feels like a horse is coming into this race on top of his game.
He was still trying hard at the end of the race. He was well clear of the third place finisher there. Just lots of positives as we move to probably the other likely horse to vie for favoritism here in Maximum Meridius. And if you're someone who watches race replays, two of his last three races, he's been a little bit unlucky. He just really never got a chance to run. Last time out at Mahoning Valley, it was just behind the top trio, nowhere to go. He was loaded, couldn't get through on the inside, kind of tried looking in between, then moved again to another spot in between, and he had to angle around to the four path. So a little bit unlucky in this one, David.
Yeah, I don't know if he was ever going to win this race because Valentine Candy, who gets the job done, is a pretty nice horse. So I think his run buyers all the way up to the triple digits this year. But you could see Maximum Meridius just searching for room in behind horses, initially on the rail, then the two path, and the three path, has to go all the way out to the four path to find a clear running lane, and then is able to finish on well for second, actually nosing out world record for that runner-up spot, who's a horse who's run some big numbers earlier this year, winning the Amsterdam. So that was some strong company that Maximus Meridius was keeping in that Steel Valley Sprint. You also mentioned the trip that he got in the Gallant Bob three back, where it seemed like Joel Rosario was trying to do the right thing by reserving off the pace in a race that featured a lot of speed, but this horse got key and was just kind of wanting to run through traffic and had to be held up in behind horses around the far turn, just couldn't really find a path. I think he's pretty sharp right now, and I would love to see John Velasquez kind of go with it out of the starting gate, and if he breaks well, allow him to get into the race a little bit more than he has in his last few starts.
Yeah, the two horses who have most recently defeated him, Valentine Candy, who you pointed out, who's an 8-time winner and very, very good sprinter, and Ben Tornado, who came back and was a really good second in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. So that's excellent form when you kind of compare it to the rest of this field. Toxic Gray went gate to wire last time out, and if they get aggressive again, as you were pointing out, why not? He feels like the one to catch in here. All three of his career victories have been here at Aqueduct, and even the second place finish 2 starts back, he was behind El Grande O, who came back to win next time out with a 97 Beyer speed figure. The third place finisher named Classify just won a race over at Gulfstream Park, a first level allowance race. So that race has come back pretty strong. He's just in nice form right now.
Yeah, kind of like Running Son of a Gun. He's a horse that has finally come all the way back around because he ran that 91 Beyer off the trainer switch to Mike Maselli back in February of 2023, beating Ever So Mischievous that day, who turned into a really nice horse for Brad Cox. And then that version of Toxic Great kind of disappeared for a couple of seasons, but certainly came back into form this winter, this fall into winter for trainer Mike Maselli again. This most recent victory was pretty impressive. Did get to set a pretty moderate pace that day. He wasn't really challenged by Tibby on the front end, but liked the way he kicked away at the end of that the stretch of that race, and just feels like a horse is coming in here in good form. It is a step up in class, though.
David, what do we do with Top Gunner, who won the Park Sprint back in September and was looking like he was in really nice form at that point, had won 2 of his last 3, was just now moving into the Brad Cox barn. And then the last 2, been a little bit disappointed. 2 starts back was 5-2 in the Bold Ruler, was up close and didn't really have a whole lot of finish. Last time out, finished third. It was kind of a non-threatening third. It was well behind Running Son of a Gun that day. Can we give him a chance to kind of get back to one of those better races here?
He got such a great ride and trip from Flavian Pratt when he won that Park Sprint late on the Pennsylvania Derby undercard back in September. And since then, the trips have been fine. He just hasn't been quite as sharp at his performances. And Brad Cox has had so much success first off the claim, especially this year when the barn has started to claim more horses. And I wonder if this horse is just really primed to go first off the claim on that big day and has just kind of gone backwards in a couple starts since then. He's a little tough to like, especially off his most recent effort.
24 Mamba rounds out the field. His last 7 races, though, he hasn't been closer than beaten 2.5 lengths. Just haven't seen many winning races for him as of late. at the bottom of the page, if you're looking at the daily racing form past performances, you see a couple races that would probably be competitive here. Non-winners of 2 allowance races and allowance wins at Aqueduct. But it's just been a while since we've seen that type of form from him.
Yeah, his last couple of races, he's been beaten by runners that he's meeting again here. Couldn't really find excuses in his trips. As you said, he was in good form last winter. Maybe he'll come back around at the same time of year this winter, but he's going to need to in this race in a big way.
Well, there's your field for the Gravesend. David, let's take a look at selections for this one. How are you going to stack them up here?
Yeah, between the two favorites, I thought Running Son of a Gun might finally be a shorter price than he's been in recent starts. And Maximus Meridius, even though he's stepping up against older horses here, I think he fits really well against this field from a class standpoint. And as you were noting, I think he's got a better trip coming to him in this race. So I put him on top. 2-1 on the morning line, probably a fair price. I wouldn't want to go too much lower than that, though.
Lots of similarities for us with our selections here. We use the same 4 horses, just in a slightly different order. Yeah, can't be too outside of the box in this one. I went with just the top 2 choices here. 1 to Maximus Meridius and Running Son of a Gun over the 2 Full Moon Madness, who's sharp right now and maybe could offer you a little bit of value there. So however you end up playing them in the Gravesend on Saturday at Aqueduct, we wish you the best of luck.